podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
You're listening to Achtung Millwall, broadcasting from the beautiful South Birmingham. Accept no substitute.
Good morning, dear listeners. Welcome to Achtung Millwall Part 2, 706, Part 2 of our coverage of the rather drab and dreary match at Coventry on Sunday. My name is Nick Hart. You're listening to Achtung Millwall, of course. Now, first up on this edition, which has become a little bit of a lashed together with sellotape edition in the light of events, which, as they say in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, life comes at you fast, and life at Millwall comes at you very fast with that official announcement yesterday of the appointment of Alex Neil as our new head coach. It's been trailed for some time. He was at the game on Sunday, but it was officially announced yesterday that he would be leaving. Adam Barrett has departed the Den. So changes, and I think David Livermore is now going to become a kind of an assistant to Neil's new assistant, which is Martin Channing. So yeah, much change at the Den, for better or for worse. Everyone will have their opinions on that. But Michael Avery, our regular contributor, was at the Coventry Building Society Arena on Sunday and sent me in a series of live reports. So we're going to go straight over to Michael's live reports, then we'll be back after that with my reaction to the game and then the voice notes. So stay tuned, dear listeners.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whatever time of day you are listening to the show, dear listener, for today's away game at the Coventry Building Society Arena. Say that when you're drunk. Between Coventry City and Millwall Football Club, the beloved, the one you want to spend your Christmas period with. The Lions line up. We'll start with the substitutes first. Truman, Hutchinson, Mitchell, Bradshaw, Meyer, Watmore, Ivanovic, Bangura, Williams and Massey, and a lineup of Jensen, Wallace, Tanganga, Aziz, Bryan, Langstaff, Leonard, captain, Saville, Denor, Essay and Honeyman back in the starting lineup today. Millwall go into this game, 22 games played, 28 points. Coventry, 1 game more, 1 point less. But as we know, we've recently played Coventry, who beat us 1-0, and we are currently pony. So this could go, quite frankly, either way. As always, regardless to what show you listen to on this channel, we will check in if anything happens or if the game gets really, really dull and boring. Alex Neil apparently has been appointed Millwall's new manager on a 3-year deal, according to Sky Sports News. So I'm hoping to see him in the away end eating a cheese and onion pasty sometime soon. Michael Avery checking in and checking out. Come on, you Lions. Good chance for Millwall there. Ball played down the left-hand side by Aziz. Pings it right across goal. Seems to go behind Essay there. Falls to Leonard, who drills one, takes a big deflection, and it goes out for a corner of deflection. Joe Bryan getting a nice round of applause off of the away fans here. He might be applauding the Costa shop in the outlet there for his cappuccino. Big side by Bryan from the right-hand side. Corner comes in towards the near post, doesn't even beat the first man, and that applause for Joe Bryan quickly turns into abuse. He could have done quite well to redeem himself there, but that was a cappuccino that lacked the froth, if you will. Good lively start by Millwall, 3-4 minutes in. We've been in their half a little bit more than they've been in ours, but there's a good 86 plus injury time to go. Throw in taken to SA, who plays it back to Leonard. Leonard crosses into Walls, goal! Oh! Just hits the roof of the net. From this angle, there's excitement. Pitch level, there probably weren't. 0-0. During a quiet moment, I will have to say, fair play to the Mill admin team, who do the match day colours in line with what the away kit will be. So there's no surprise anymore. You know, back in the day it would be like away and you wouldn't know what colour we're wearing. But now they do it in that kind of greeny colour, so it's like, you know, we're playing in green. or sometimes it'll be the silver, so playing in silver. So obviously you can plan your outfit depending on what colour the graphic is, which I think is very clever. I mean, you're going to have some who moan about it because some moan that the away kit ain't blue enough. But fair play to the admin there. And, it's a weird green, isn't it, really? It's like, if there could be a colour that's like another one, for me it's like a navy green rather than a navy blue. But 10 minutes in, regardless of what colour we're playing in, it's actually going pretty well. I'd like to say, containing them. They've just played a through ball that didn't really come from much. And considering we're in an absolutely packed stadium, I mean, the home end's packed out. The way's got a good few in it, don't get me wrong. Good following for, 4 or 5 days after Christmas. 4 days after Christmas. It's not a period, it's a day. But the rest of the stadium is I'd say, as good as full. Millwall fans, as normal, making the most noise. So, credit where credit's due. 0-0. Great chance there from Millwall. Ball played over the top to Aziz on the left-hand side, who runs towards goal. For me, he looked like he was looking for a cross when really the sort of cutting and shot was the better option. Could you argue he's slightly hesitant? Maybe, but he runs in, gets a shot away. Down low to the keeper. Pretty routine save, but a good chance there to produce a bit more. 0-0. Corner by Coventry now is played short after one attack. He cuts in, manages to beat Honeyman, plays it short, plays it back inside, has a shot, Jensen saves. And that's the only real noise we've had from Coventry so far. Not done a great deal. I mean, like I say, 18 minutes, or 18 minutes past 3 it says now, so you can roughly say, give or take, that's what it is. They've not done anything really of note, and they're a very mild fan base, to say the least. I'll be honest, I don't think Millwall fans would be overly happy if we weren't doing as much or as little as they are, should I say, for the opening 20 minutes of the game. But they've probably had a bit too much sherry in their Christmas pudding, you could say. 0-0. So, it's my middle boys' first ever away game. Except for, Dartford, because we only live down the road. But we've had about a good 2.5 hour drive, ish, give or take. Struggled to find some parking, found some parking, got some lunch. We tried to get some lunch, but it didn't happen. So just got bag crisp. But first ever away game, what do you think?
So far it's been a very boring match. Not much has happened, but the atmosphere is pretty good.
But the game itself?
Yeah, pretty boring.
Not a lot happening, no?
No.
Okay, Tanganga wins a header there, but it just gets headed back. I'm with my eldest, who's now on his 4th away game now, over the years. What do we reckon?
It's been a very, it's not one-sided, both teams are having a fight. But I think whoever will score first will get, if someone scores now, they get the momentum, and they might score another one for.
But what do you think about the actual game?
It's going well for both sides, but I think Millwall are the better team so far.
Enjoying it, or is it boring?
No, I'm enjoying it.
He just said it was boring. See, this is what it's like being dads of kids. They argue about different things. Don't have kids, dear listener. Cost you money and they argue. You end up your life being a referee. Corner about to come over now from Millwall. They're arguing about something over there. It seems like it's not in the D. Oh, yeah, there we are. The Coventry fans are moaning that the ball's not in the D, but it's this weird rule, obviously, in football where, as long as it's going over or overhanging kind of thing, they've obviously let them off a bit. It looks like Sal's about to take. Tanganga goes down in a heap. The referee, after all that, has now stopped it. And quite frankly, I can't really see what's going on. I don't think the ref does neither, and there's no VAR. So he'll probably just give him a telling to, and we'll get back to this when anything happens. Whistle blown now after all those handbags. Arm goes up, lofted in towards the penalty spot. Millwall heads over everyone. Looking for a foul. Drops to Tanganga on the right-hand side, who plays it to Denore. Denore looks up, tries to get a cross in, but runs into a light blue brick wall. Plays it back to Honeyman. Honeyman with the ball now. Plays it back out wide to Esse. Any chance someone could cross it. Gives it to Denore. Plays it back to a defender, who plays a long ball over to Tanganga, who's offside. What a complete waste. Sums up the first half, really. Corner about to come in now, and the referee doing his check again to make sure the ball's in the right place. The Coventry fans now cheer, but it's in the right place. George Honeyman with possibly the last real attack of this half. 2 minutes added time left to go, because the way that this half's been so far, I can't see being many more attacks after this one. Honeyman about to take the free kick on left hand side. The ref just stops him argy-bargy. Arm goes up, corner comes in. Keeper punches clear, goes as far as Denor on the edge of the box, but now Coventry break. Coventry City break, and Leonard is chasing back to get it. And over comes Joe Bryan, who both do well to snuff that out, to be fair. And Leonard kicks it out for a throw. That's probably going to be the last action of the half. Unless anything happens, I won't record after this. 0-0, bland, very beige first half from Millwall Football Club. We attacked well in the opening sort of 10-20 minutes, I'd say, but after that it just petered out really, and any attack we did have was quite toothless. Coventry have done absolutely nothing, and you can hear them over there cheering the fact that they've won a throw, because they've really not done a lot at all. Like I say, unless anything happens in the next 90 seconds, 60 seconds left, I'm going to call it here as half time. 0-0. 3 minutes into the second half, and Coventry with a short corner played across goal. It has a little bit of bounce through, and Denore kicks it up the field, and there's not a single Millwall player in their half. I think you can call that somewhat cautious defending, if you will, because there was no one near the bloody thing. Coventry now with the ball, playing it out along the back, tries to go for a long diag. I have to say, it's one of those things with football. If you're like a professional, like Dave Livermore is, or any manager, the way Millwall defended in the first half, you're actually quite happy with it. You know, you're away from home, not playing particularly well at the moment, like we were against Norwich, and yes, we had that Blackburn result, granted, but you know, it's not been brilliant even like for the last few games under Neil Harris's reign, like results-wise. So to have a 0-0, really not troubled first half, you've got to say, like I said, as a professional, you've got to be happy with that. But I mean, entertainment's not been very good. Coventry now with a ball on the left-hand side, plays the ball in, and it's cleared by Bryan, who's now hopping as if something's gone, something's been tweaked. Maybe that's why he's not been very good for the last 18 months, because he's tweaked something and just been playing on an injury. There's me coming up with an excuse for him already. The Coventry corner's now going to be taken in front of the Millwall fans. Referee looking for a bit more argy-bargy in the penalty area. Maybe there might not be this time, and we can get this corner taken nice and quick. The 5 stands over the ball for Coventry, taking an absolute age to cross it in. Crosses it in towards the far post. Keeper claims. Really toothless attacks by both teams so far. Something seriously needs to get better, a lot better than this. Come on, you Lions. What a let-off that was. Coventry with a ball, gets played across goal towards the left-hand side, or their left-hand side. He has cuts back in after there's been a commitment from a slide tackle. Has a shot. Keeper's beaten. Was the keeper beat? Hello? But it's hit the bar. Bandstand. Coventry are adamant that it was a goal. I didn't think it was. It was a bit more wishful thinking from them. But yeah, big gel from Millwall there. And this kind of goes back to what we were saying with the first half. And being professional, because even when you're not really troubled at all it takes is just one moment, really, to one moment, as I was saying, just least what the announcement was. I thought someone won a raffle. It takes one moment to make a mistake and let them in. Nearly happened, and you're talking centimetres away from being 1-0 to the home team. 0-0. Going back to what we were saying pre-game, dear listener, what do we all think about the Alex Neil appointment? Me, for one, I think it's a reasonably good appointment. I think he's in that kind of mould of manager that you'll always be looking up with rather than looking down. I know that some clubs aren't or weren't overly happy with his style, but he always seemed to do quite well everywhere he's been, and always had teams more near the right end of the table depending on what league he was in. So I think it's a good appointment. How it will work, the argument, the head coach and the manager scenario that, peppered Neil Harris's tenure when he was in charge. We don't know, so it will be one that we'll see. But the only thing I will say is, obviously, depending on whether Neil has come in and basically just said everything that the board wants to hear, I think it's a good appointment, and I'm having a manager of a bit of stature. I mean, some people weren't massive fans of Gary Rowett, and towards the end of his time there, I wasn't overly blown away with him. But seeing we're getting managers of these calibres associated with our club now can only really be a good thing. Getting him in just before the window opens is a bit of a shrewd move as well, and we might see an upturn. Fair play to Dave Livermore on what he's done in the time he's been here. It can't be easy. Obviously, he's friends with Neil Harris and all that kind of thing, and he obviously would want to go where his friend is and everything. Will there be a place for Dave Livermore? Will he want to stay? You don't know. But Adam Barrett's another one. He'll still be around, won't he? You know, he's like the Ravens at the Tower of London. He'll just always be around, and if he leaves, everything will fall. Society will fall if Adam Barrett ever leaves Millwall. 66 minutes in. Is that 66 minutes or 60-something minutes now? I can't see from this angle. About to be a Coventry sub now, and in truth, nothing's happened from a Millwall point of view this half. Come your lines. Coventry on the break now. And Aziz does absolutely superb there. A long ball, long diags played over. He does well to get a head on it, win the ball back. It looks like it's destined to go out for a corner, and he manages to just keep it in and boot it clear out for a throw, and then rightfully gets a big round of applause from the Millwall supporters here. Really, really good stuff. He's now gone down holding his foot because he took a bit of a knock, but really, really well done by our number 11. 0-0. Millwall just a moment there, running down the line. Ryan Leonard plays it into Esse. Esse tries to beat his player, drops his shoulder, and we win a corner. But unfortunately, from the corner, nothing comes of it, and it goes out for a goal kick. And do you know what? There's a little bit with Esse. You know, I know he scored against Norwich. Oh no, Coventry have got the ball on the attack now. But I know that, you know, Esse's played well and he scored a few goals here and there, don't get me wrong. But I think there's a bit of me thinking that, yes, he is Millwall's better player, but he's starting to get a little bit sussed out now. In the sense that, you know, when he's got the ball and he runs onto it, he doesn't seem to beat the players that he managed to do at the start of the season. I'm still not knocking the boy, I'm still not saying he's not talented, but for me there needs to be a little bit more of a plan B from him overall. You know, he just had the ball there and lost it in the middle, and just needs to kind of do a little bit more in the last couple of games for me. But I'm not one of these Millwall fans who jumps down the neck of players if they're not playing particularly well. Cross comes in by Coventry on the left-hand side, goes up to as far as the edge of the box. Coventry now on the ball. Langstaff does well to get back to block it. Every Millwall player, barring Honeyman, is on the edge of the box. Cross comes in, it's blocked. As far as Leonard gets it out. Yeah, going back to it, it's Esse, you know, the start of the season and all these little bits and pieces he had would really do well beating a player. He'd drop his shoulder and leave him absolutely for dead. But, you know, it's really been the last couple of weeks we've not really seen that as much. So we've seen it in bits and pieces, don't get wrong, but no consistency. Coventry on the ball again, dinks in left-hand side, cross only as far as the far post. Coventry head on it. Millwall let it drop down. Brian gets it clear. Aziz runs, does well to keep it in. Does very, very well to keep it in there. But, yeah, another Coventry attack where nothing comes of it. Remains 0-0. Coventry City now with a free kick about 3-4 yards outside the penalty area. This has been a woeful game when it comes to any sort of real quality or action or anything like that, dear listener. I have to say, not one for the purists, to say the least. It's just not been great. It's not been, apart from the one that hit the bar from Coventry more than anything. There's not been any real moments that have you on the edge of your seat, and you know it's not a buzzing type stadium or arena, should I say? But it is what it is. It's a nice day with the family. You see it like that. Coventry now again with their free kick about 20-25 yards out. Referee just making sure all's in line. I reckon he's crossing this in the way he's looking. The 3-man wall of Millwall is just standing there. You ain't got none of those divs who want to lay down behind the wall. Cross comes in towards the far post, met in the air, just about cleared. Brian tries to dink it up towards Bradshaw, but it's just not to be. Remains 0-0, 85 and a bit minutes gone. The fourth official just signalled a minimum of 3 minutes added on. And during that time, SA won the ball, was tackled, won the ball back and looked to play the advantage, but the ref pulled it back, which is questionable, but again, I don't think it's really anything that would have changed the outcome of the game. Coventry now with the ball running towards goal. Is blocked there by Denore. Denore plays to Tanganga to Honeyman. SA for me, who I was a little bit critical moments ago, has got the ball now, plays inside to Bradshaw. Bradshaw tries to play up the line and just deflects out for a throw. This kind of goes back to what I'm saying earlier on, that there's been little to complain about defensively. Okay, yeah, they got through Coventry and now they're shot at the bar and all this, but they've really not done anything at all. For me, the problem today for Millwall is we've just been a little bit toothless, and you don't want to see a direct way of playing football. Don't get me wrong, like long ball or anything like that. Well, you might do. That might be your style, but when we have got the ball, we've not been very direct with like what to do with it or where to go. You know, as I said in the first half, Aziz had a moment where he's got the ball and he was in two minds. You know, Leonard's had a time when he's got the ball at the back, and instead of running and really pelting on 50, 60 yards with the ball, he holds himself up to allow them back in. And again, just there, you know, Joe Bryan's easily in 15, 20 yards of space there. His first thought is to give it back to Jensen. Now, I know that you don't want to concede this late on, especially at 0-0, but you do also want to try and go for something. The refs give a foul there. So, you know, some Millwall fans and some Coventry fans are all starting to trickle out and make their way back. Do you know what? Like I say, professionally, you can't be too disappointed in the sense that, you know, if it's your job and your bread and butter, you get points on the board. Well, we've got a point on the board if it stays like this, you know, for the next, 10, 20 seconds. There'll be a point on the board, so you can't complain too much, and it stops that rut, new manager coming in, etc. And we go to New Year's Day. And that said, Coventry have just played it through. As the shot goes across the goal, final whistle is blown. Millwall fans give their team a clap, and that's it. Game over, a point shared. So we didn't get a win over Frank Lampard this season, but it is what it is. What do we think of the game? First away game.
Quite boring. Not that much happened, and the Coventry fans barely did anything. All they did was just sit down and watch, whereas the Millwall fans were very lively.
Yeah, I think that sums up pretty well. Millwall clapping Jensen, the goalkeeper, who again not really put a foot wrong, even with the shot at the bar. He was beaten, not a lot he could have done about that. And Millwall are now obviously doing the high fives, and we'll probably come over and applaud the travelling fans soon. That's us, all gone. Dear listener, this will probably come out before New Year. I'd like to wish all Millwall fans a happy New Year. Well done, because it's been a very, very, very turbulent 2023, 24 and 24, 25 so far. So well done, Millwall and Millwall fans. Full credit to you. How many lines?
Achtung, Millwall.
Huge thank you to Michael. Well done to him, Matt Webb, and every one of the 1,002 Lions on the road that went up there. Well, it'd be 1,021 because I didn't actually make it. Familial events overtook me, listeners. I watched it on stream instead, much to my dismay, because it was a drab and dreary game, wasn't it? Blimey. Liver's last stand is my note I've got to myself here. Jensen in goal, back line of Leonard, Wallace, Tanganga and Bryan, De Saville, Denore as the defensive two, then in front of them an attacking three, or not so attacking three in actual fact, of Aziz, Esse and George Honeyman, and up front the forlorn figure of Macaulay Langstaff. Yeah, I mean, obviously it was a point on the road. Let's start and finish this whole show with that. And for David Livermore's point of view, he was checking out as the caretaker manager on Sunday, to go out with a win, loss and a draw, and each of those marginal results. So, you know, he would argue that he's done a good job, and I think he has. And, you know, I want to take this chance, if I may, just to take my hat off to both David Livermore and also to Adam Barrett, figures who get a lot of stick at the Den, and yet they have both respectively put 100% into their jobs. Livers is going to be an assistant to the assistant coach, so it's a bit of a tumble, but I think he's a coach rather than a leader, and I think that probably, he's done a manful job, but I don't think it's his natural position in management, and he's decided he's going to step into the shadows at the Den, in favour, obviously, now of the new man, Alex Neil, and his assistant, Martin Channing. Is it Martin Channing or is it Steve Channing? I don't know. Anyway, his surname is Channing, this new chap. Apparently he's worked with Alex Neil around the scene on his previous job, so he comes with plenty of experience, Alex Neil, and I think that's probably what we need. Sunday's game was one of those typical examples of a Mill side that's gone beyond full stretch. The Coventry team of Carl and Max McLennan made the point, and it's a very good point, that we're struggling with a huge injury crisis. You know, the team I thought looked pretty stretched, pretty tired. Legs were starting to fail us as the game wore towards its conclusion. And we've had a lot of football. This Christmas is a pretty hectic schedule, listeners. I know they get well paid, and I know that they're elite athletes and all of that, but it will take its price. We've got another game tomorrow. I'm recording this on New Year's Eve. Got a home game at 1:00 tomorrow against Gary Rowett's Oxford. So the games do come thick and fast. Then we're off to Sheffield Wednesday on Saturday. So it will take its toll, and I think Saturday's performance, particularly whatever the instructions that Livers gave them, I think that was to contain rather than press forwards. We've been criticised for being a bit too open at Norwich and paid the penalty there, so I think he's tried to come away with a point. And largely speaking, it was within those instructions, it was a good performance. The only real incident worth the name from the Mill perspective was that very bizarre 50th minute crossbar, then onto the post shot from Coventry. Otherwise, they had a little flurry at the start of the second half. They were largely kept quiet, I thought. Macaulay Langstaff had a couple of moments, a shot in the 43rd minute, saved, and then one towards the late stages, which went over the bar, unfortunately. I think he's ploughing a lonely furrow up at the front. Whether Alex Neil is going to come in and make changes, some of our voice notes will refer to that precise, point. The idea of using your resources to try and create some goal scoring chances, because that's where we're falling short at the moment. We're just not getting the number of chances, the quality of chances for the likes of Langstaff, and whenever he plays Ivanovic, to really get a grip on the game. I also think we might see some action in the January transfer window. We have to address this goal-scoring problem. There may be other positions, left side always strikes me as, Joe Bryan's position, the quality of the crossing, which links in with that chance creation, goal-scoring point we've just made, but the quality of the crossing, as much as I can respect Joe Bryan's career and his abilities with the ball, he don't deliver it often enough, in my opinion, on our behalf in real game time. So those may be areas that the new regime take a look at. Overall, you always got to go for Tanganga as man of the match, because he's doing the work of so much, so many. Toothless up front, man of the match, Tanganga, stroke Aziza, I thought put another good shift in for me on Sunday with my notes to myself. Thoughts on the appointment of Alex Neil. I've listened to a couple of interviews. I've mentioned this in the other show that we did yesterday with Michael and Matt. It's a really good interview, actually, with Gabe Sutton. I'll stick the link into this show as well as it's on the other one as well that I did yesterday. It's well worth a listen if you get a chance. It's on YouTube, it's on Spotify. It's Gabe Sutton's EFL interview with Alex Neil. I'll stick the link in, like I say. Well worth a listen. Gabe goes into his career and approach in some depth, and listening to it, I can see why he would be attractive to the club. because he both combines that desire that I think Jimmy Berylson touched on with Joe Edwards last year, which didn't work out, of having a young up-and-coming manager. And it's strange to think of Alex Neil as a young up-and-coming manager, but he makes the very point in the interview. I think he was 42 when he did the interview, but he's 43 now, so it must be in the last year. But he's not that old. He's not, he's got plenty of experience, so he combines that youthful sense, although he does look like he's, lived a hard life, shall we say. But at the same time, he's 43. He's got plenty of experience. He's had promotions at Hamilton Academicals, at Sunderland, and at Norwich, and he's done well to keep Preston in the game. It seems to be that he's either if he's been sacked at Stoke. I mean, that's a graveyard for many managers. So I'm not going to particularly, including Rowett, who did well with us. He fell foul at Stoke, didn't he? So I'm not going to particularly judge him harshly on his Stoke record. He does have a track record of achieving success, promotions with Norwich into the Premier League, where, yes, it didn't work out there, but I don't think it would probably work out very easily for us if we were to get up there. Many, many clubs in the Championship would struggle on their first promotion to the Premier League. So, he talks sense. He sounds like the cliche of the Scottish, hard-edged Scottish manager, and I think we kind of respond well to that at the Den. I've always been wary of any personality manager, and by what do I mean by that? Where the personality of the manager becomes as big as the club's name, and I think I'm going to leave it there, listeners, because I think that whenever we've had personality managers in the past, it goes wrong on us. I think what we respond best to is a kind of a solid figure that you know where you're staying, you know what you're going to get, and hopefully the players deliver what you're going to get. And that's personally what I'm craving to get back to. I'm hoping that's what Alex Neil will deliver. He's here for a 3-year plus term. I think it's the 3 and a bit year contract he's on. So the intention of the club is clearly to back him. He makes the point in the club interviews that he's done, the one with Max on Millwall TV, worth a look again. I might even stick the link to that in here if I can do it. But he makes the point how he's aligned with the transfer policy, the development policy that we hear so much about. So I'm quite optimistic. Now, obviously, that might bite me on the bum, and harangue me if that's where if it finishes bad on the. But I do think he probably fits in with the direction that James Berylson wants to take us in, and that Steve Gallen has been brought in to implement, which is this developer of talent. One interesting point, just before I close on this little section, listeners. One point that Alex Neil makes, is that he kind of fell foul at Preston a little bit, where he was developing players and moving them on for big money, millions of pounds of signing of transfer fees coming into Preston. And one thing, point I think that niggled him a little bit there, was that he wasn't seeing the incoming talent to then go through the same process with. So they were selling, but not using that money to invest in the team. I'm going to guess. I'm going to hope twice with my fingers crossed that that's the first point on a conversation between himself, James Berylson, and Steve Gallen. Repeatedly during Sunday's coverage of the game at Coventry, they showed Alex Neil looking quite stern-faced in the crowd. But I like that. A stern-faced Scottish manager I think, reminds me of the old days, whether it be McGee, whether it be Johnny Dock or George Graham going still further back. It's kind of that rigour. I like it. And I think that's, to some degree, is what the club needs. I've seen a few posts online about how the club needs a clear-out. Well, it's kind of largely had that clear-out, for better or for worse. And here's meet the new boss, as they say, the Who. Meet the new boss, hopefully not the same as the old boss, hopefully one that can pull together a squad of players that do give their all, but I think need probably a little bit of focus and direction. Let's hope that's what we're going to get with Alex Neil. I wish him all the best, dear listeners. So, as I say, an impromptu, slightly done at the last moment edition. I was planning to do this yesterday, but then obviously events of that appointment of Alex Neil overtook me. So I'm just going to run the voicemails I've received. Big thank you to everyone for their contributions. So we're going to take a short break now for the ads, and then we'll be back after that with our first voice note, which is from Jim Hackett. Stay tuned, dear listeners.
Hello.
Morning, Nick. Jim Hackett here, just with a few thoughts on yesterday and obviously, hopefully, the new appointment of Alex Neil. I thought the game yesterday was a difficult watch, wasn't it? I think the fact that we came out with a point was good enough for us, and we'd have all taken that before the game. The performance itself, I think that you can see we're just crying out for a centre forward who could hold the ball, because every time we came out of our defensive area, it came straight back at us. And I think it's one of the things I'd like to think that Neil will know one or two players around that might just give us that ability to hold the ball going forward. The players themselves, obviously, they were running, putting all the effort in. But unfortunately, if it doesn't stick up front, then you've got very little chance of creating too much. We had one or two half-decent chances, but nothing that looked like a real sort of open goal scoring opportunity. And the one that Coventry did have, the bar at the post, then we got away with that one, I think. But you can just see, without the ability to hold the ball up front, our confidence doesn't seem to sort of inspire anything, because I think we're just waiting for the next wave of attacks. And as good as it is defensively, it's difficult, I would imagine, for the players. It's even more difficult to watch, because it's like we've gone backwards at a rate of knots since Harris decided to leave, and we really don't have a replacement for Coburn. And as much as I'd like to think that Macaulay Langstaff and Ivanovic will be the answers going forward, I don't think without some sort of target man, the system we play can work. And I think it's just getting harder and harder. The players, I think overall, they did what they could do, and they got us a point, and I think we should all be grateful for that. And now the line gets drawn under the Neil Harris years, with that being Liver's last game, or his last game as our manager stroke head coach. I think going forward with Alex Neil, look at him yesterday when he was sat next to James Berylson, you could see he was sort of nondescript in his look, but he didn't look very happy with what he was watching. And there was one point where the camera was on him and he was like heading and kicking the ball for our players. So at least he's invested that way. But overall, I think going forward, he'll have his own mind on what he wants to do. I think with the players he's got available, there's not a lot of changes he can make, but he might just have something in him that can spark us up a little bit, even with the man management side of it, which was Neil Harris's strong point. If Alex Neil can get them to perform to anything like Neil did, then, we'll be okay. I'd like to think we'll be okay for the rest of the season, but the way Millwall goes, you're just never quite sure. As for the Alex Neil appointment, I think giving him 3 years is a good thing. It's hopefully you can see the 3 years out, and by the time he does sort of get to that point, we'll have built on what's already there, and hopefully the club will be pushing forward. In real terms, I don't know. There's got to be a swap of players. We've got certain players in certain positions that just aren't capable, but they're probably not capable of doing it in the Championship. And I think we are sort of desperate now. Without Cooper, it's actually made a massive difference to our defending, because Tanganga is doing sort of 2 or 3 men's work, whereas with Cooper there, he could concentrate in his own game and look a lot more assured. I think at the moment he's trying to defend for everybody, and as well as he's doing, he can't keep doing that and doing that and doing that, and then sort of just run out of legs himself. So for me, I think Neil's first job is to get us looking solid, but also being able to keep the ball a little bit better going forward. I don't know how long Coburn's out for, or whether Neil's got somebody he can bring in straight away that will make that difference, because without that, it's going to be a tough old second half of the season. But I suppose he's got the luxury, if you like, of Gary Rowett coming with his Oxford team on the first day, and if nothing else, that'll get the crowd sparked up a little bit, and it might just be enough that gets our players going forward and playing with a little bit more confidence. I'm not going to criticise any players from yesterday, because I thought they all did what they could, and they are what they are. But we are crying out now for just a couple of extra players that will make the difference. The quality that we've got is there. It's just not coming out often enough for me. And let's hope that with Alex Neil coming in, we do go forward. So to everybody who listens to this and listens to you, Nick, have a great new year and onwards and upwards for 2025. Come on, you Lions.
Big thank you, Jim. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what changes are made. I would expect a striker who can hold the ball to be first on Alex Neil. He must have seen the points that you've made there. The ball was going forwards a lot and then coming straight back at us a lot. And, we can't endure. We got lucky with that 50th minute incident with the post and the crossbar being struck. But you can't depend on that too often. So certainly the more stickiness we have with the ball going forwards, the more chance we've got to bring the likes of Romain Esse, Femi Aziz, and hopefully when he gets fit, the likes of Imaku maybe, or his replacement, maybe Adam Mayor. I don't know. He was on the bench. It's going to be interesting to see what players are selected by Alex Neil as he gets to know them. I don't expect there to be many changes. In fact, he made that point with Max McClellan on the Mill TV. So I don't expect there to be many changes initially, at least. But it will be interesting to see how he develops the side over the months ahead. I'm kind of looking forward to it. So big thank you there to Jim. We're going to play out the show now with the remainder of the voice notes. I want to say a big thank you to everyone that's contributed, as always. Really appreciate it. I've put this show together slightly in a rush, so we're just going to play these ones one after the other, back to back. And we're back at the Den tomorrow, dear listeners. We're back there at 1:00. So another show tomorrow after tomorrow's game. That'll probably go out on the 2nd, I'd guess, dear listeners. But I want to say a big appreciation to everyone for all your support and for listening over this past year, 2024. It's been an interesting year, isn't it? One way and the other. We started it under the management still of Joe Edwards, despite his rapidly failing form. And then it replaced in February with Neil Harris. We had 10 months of Neil. We had one of the most dramatic and most Millwall escapes from relegation, because I think that's where we were heading, thanks to the promising coach Joe Edwards, but I don't think he was any leader. And interesting to see him at Coventry, actually, on Sunday. I think I made the point in the other show that he was very much looking comfortable behind Frank Lampard. And I think that's probably Joe Edwards' best place, with Lampard leading and him as the kind of second in command. And I think that's where he'll remain for the rest of his career. I don't think he showed enough managerially at the Den to really pick up the interest of anybody else. But yeah, Joe Edwards in January, Neil Harris and his escape from relegation from February through to the end of May was wonderful. One of the standout moments of my Mill life, to be honest. The achievement I thought was magnificent, and we should all owe Neil Harris a huge debt of thanks for what he did there. We then had chopping and changing. We had the Mill soap opera across the summertime, didn't we? The departure of long-serving figures like Steve Kavanagh, Billy Taylor and Alex Aldrich, to be replaced by the new guard, Jimmy Berylson, now exerting his fingerprints on the club, bringing in Steve Gallen. The soap opera dispute with Neil Harris, I think, has bedeviled us this season. I don't think that's helped. I know we had that run of unbeaten form, which took us up the table, thankfully. Again, big thank you to Neil Harris. But I think the club's direction is going to go in a way that will hopefully help sustain us. A sustainable football club is the expression that you hear a lot in the game. And I think that's where, with the personality clashes, I think it's good that's if we're going to go in that way, let's set ourselves on that path and have everyone pulling together. And the replacement of Neil Harris once he resigned in at the end of November, wasn't it? And now the replacement after the intervening gap of caretaking management of David Lovemore, now with Alex Neil, who seems, at least from what we can all gather, to have bought into this new direction. I think that's going to be what what takes us forward, propels us forward. That's my hope. I sincerely hope that. The year closes with us in halfway up the table of the Championship, historically overperforming compared with all of the many, many years of Millwall's existence. I know that's not much consolation to the kids, but we are, and probably hope to remain, a mid-table Championship side that can look upwards with some modicum of a hope at the playoff run. And I think that's not a bad way to close the year out of 2024. If we can maintain that going forwards, I'm a happy man. I want to say a big thank you for listening, dear listeners. We're going to play out the remainder of the voice notes now. Big appreciation to everyone for sending them in. Do keep in touch, listeners. Send me your voice notes. Always appreciate them. And we'll be back after the Oxford game, for better or for worse. Arrivederci, Millwall. Bye for now.
Hello?
Hello, Nick. Jim Littler, not long back from the soulless bowl that is Coventry. Thought we'd done all right today. Can't deny the players have got a lot of passion and a lot of commitment to the cause. There were times today when I thought that Coventry were going to get past us quite a few times, especially down the lines. And Leonard, Tanganga, Aziz getting last minute challenges in, fighting for the ball. I thought it was a well-deserved point. Yeah, they had 75 possession in the end, but don't mean anything, does it? I wouldn't want to watch that every week, and I certainly wouldn't want to go to that ground every other week. But I think all in all, I think the point was about right. Didn't really create a lot. We all know that it's just a lack of quality, really. So we've got the players who are determined to fight for the cause, but when it comes down to them moments, particularly in the final third, we just never really look like we know what to do with the ball. And when we do get the odd sort of chance here and there, we've got players who are just a little bit short of confidence. Langstaff, again, difficult chance, but he snatches at it. He seems he's lost any composure that he had maybe when he joined us. He's not showing it for us now. Whether it's because he's in and out of the team or what it is, I don't know. But all in all, I thought it was a decent point today. So we'll welcome Mr. Rowett's Oxford in a couple of days. Let's hope we can put one over on them. And obviously the new managers coming in now. Scottish managers have done quite well down at Millwall, haven't they? So I'm hopeful for him. I'll back him. There's a lot of sort of falls and against him if you read stuff on the internet with previous teams that he's been to, but let's give the bloke a chance. I mean, it can't be much worse than some of the recent choices. So listen, let's all get behind him. And then when we got back to the car, the best news of the day was hearing that Barrett's leaving. You can say that he's been with the club a long time, he's been loyal. We keep hearing the players like him and all the rest of it, but if you ask anyone what he actually does or did, people don't actually know, and I think that says it all. I think Livers said on his interview the other day that he's in charge of set plays, so hopefully they'll improve. So anyway, Nick, I wish you a happy new year, wish all your listeners a happy new year and prosperous 2025. Let's hope that we keep picking up points. Let's stabilise this season. We're probably a bit far off the playoffs and too good to get dragged into that bottom three. So let's finish off this season and then see where this new guy can take us. So all the best, Nick. Cheers. Bye.
Evening, Nick. This is Lawrence Binney calling in after Coventry 0, Millwall 0. That was a nondescript performance, befitting of the circumstances. We went up to Coventry, which is the sort of limbo of England. We are in a sort of limbo at the moment, in between David Livermore's caretaker reign and the imminent appointment of Alex Neil.
And it's also that really boring limbo period between Christmas and New Year. So kind of befitting that we should produce the footballing equivalent of white noise today. I think in terms of performance, it probably wasn't that much different from the Norwich game. I think the difference there is that Norwich are a better side than Coventry, and produced those 2 moments of quality, which won them the game. Coventry looked a bit like the Lidl version of Norwich. And aside from that bizarre kind of crossbar post shot they had in the second half, didn't really trouble us. But we also looked completely goalless. And that's become a bit of a theme away from home, especially. It is a theme at home, but obviously we have the territory at the Den and the crowd behind us, so we can find ways of winning. But at the moment, it's really desperate stuff away from home, at least on the ball. Off the ball, again, I thought our shape was good and we're professional and the players know their jobs, but you can see a certain forlornness in the body language of some of our better players, especially Romain Esse, who I think is really at the end of his tether, the end of his rope, because he increasingly is the only player who looks like he wants to go on the front foot and create something, and the rest of his teammates just often aren't on his level, aren't even capable of receiving a pass half the time or controlling a ball. There's looking through that squad at the moment, there are a lot of players there that I think probably should have been moved on over the past couple of years, and that's a job for Alex Neil and Steve Gallen over the next 6 to 12 months. I think even aside from the obvious suspects like Hutchinson and Wallace, players like George Saville, I hate to say it, and perhaps even Honeyman and Watmore. These are players that, realistically aren't getting into any other side in the division, are they? They can do a job, and we're very good at getting the last bits of juice out of players. But at their best, they're solid. At their worst, they don't really contribute a lot anymore. It's really, makes me sad saying that about George Saville, especially because he's been a good player for us. But he's the wrong side of 30 now, and he doesn't really offer a lot anymore. He's pretty immobile. So yeah, we've got to look at sort of replacing these players. Maybe not immediately. I think that's a bit of a that'd be foolish to think that we can just get rid of that experience and replace them with fresh new players and expect them to gel. But I think we need to start having honest conversations about contracts and saying, oh well, maybe it is time you move on. Just a lack of quality really going forward. It is a transitional season. I think I always saw it as a transitional season. I think some people had higher expectations, probably because they saw how well we started the season. Even when we weren't winning, we were pretty positive and looked like we could score goals. But I think we're reverting more to the mean now. I think that was an exception. I see it as an exception. I don't think the likes of Watmore really have 10 to 15 goals in them. We hit a hot streak and now we're being found out a little bit. We're still a decent enough side, very solid, but we're a work in progress. So something for the management team to think about. Onwards and upwards. Gary Rowett team coming to the Den. A bit of a strange one on New Year's Day, 12:30 as well, which is a bit too early for some. I hope I hope the players get a good night's rest, because that should be a pretty fiery one. That should be the sort of passionate game that we can get behind the team and stick one on one of our old employees. Cheers for all the hard work, Nick, and come on, you lines.
Hello, Nick. Barry Mooney. Just to say that I've watched most of that game today, what I could see of it. And I've got to be honest, I'll take the draw before the game anyway. I'll probably go there like a little bit in the second half. One of the fellas completely missing done our own goal. But other than that, I still don't understand surely he's not going to play Hanneman as a number 10. He's just wasting our time with him. He'll work for him midfield, but he's not a striker. How many goals have we got this season? None. It's ridiculous. What chance we've got? And we've got to start winning a few games. We've got to start scoring goals, surely. This fella's got a great chance now. Let's see if he can get in and we can what he's going to do. Because I'm getting a bit fed up watching us with just scoring nil. It's getting a bit boring. And it's putting so much pressure on the defence all the time. Lucky they're doing their job well. If our forwards could play one of our defence, you'd be top of their league. All right, anyway, all the best, Nick. Cheers, mate.
Yeah, Rob Woodford from Block 4, Nick. I thought that was a great point on the road. And I thought it was a well-disciplined performance, actually, with high work rate that, might have impressed the new gaffer. And Jaff is surely one of the best centre-backs in the Championship, isn't he? But same old problem in the final third, and this next transfer window, it's going to be an important one because we can't keep relying on our defending out of possession. And from where I sit, the new gaffer was the best option, especially after Mark Robbins and Gary O'Neill supposedly turned down approaches from the club. Perhaps being linked with the Wycombe Wanderers manager was just a red herring, especially after we've been down that route before of experimenting with people who had no previous knowledge of the Championship. The Joe Edwards type gamble should never be repeated as long as we are in the second tier of English football. That's just my opinion anyway. By all accounts, Alex Neil wanted the job of being Millwall manager. So let's not underestimate the importance of his enthusiasm for the role. And those 3 promotions on his CV would have impressed the board, but surely his record at Preston North End could have been the clincher. A club with a similar fan base and resources to Millwall. Alex Neil had Preston finishing in 7th, 14th and 9th in his 3 full seasons there. And that's the sort of stability you need in order to lay the foundations to have a pop at reaching the playoffs in the next few years, in my opinion. All I'd say is, let's get behind the new boss. He's our 7th Scottish manager in history. And most of those have had a decent level of success in the past, haven't they? A big thanks, Nick, for recording my old bollocks from Block 4 Viewpoint during 2024. And all the best to all for the new year. Come on, you Lions.
Achtung Millwall, Bobby T, finishing 2024 with a dull 0-0 against Coventry City Sky Blues. Achtung Millwall, Nick Hard, Bobby T. Right, I'll be honestly on the analysis of today's game. Alex Neil's 3-year deal. Did I question that? Anyway, Uncle Fester, thank fuck he's gone. Back in the Gary Rowett days, which was become against on New Year's Day, Achtung Millwall, I just want to let you know, well done for your promising, amazing podcast and your show. Hopefully it all goes well and you win the award. But I want to go back to Gary Rowett, Joe Edwards, Neil Harris, managers, buying players, transfers. Did it work? Is it worth the money? So my question is to the panel, Merv Payne, Harry, whatever, is the question for the panel. I want to know now the manager's bounce and Alex Neil coming in now. Is the answer Langstaff? Is the answer Mihailo 2.5 not ready yet by Harris? Edwards didn't have a striker. Alex Neil's coming in now. Bradshaw definitely over the hill. Will you look at now Langstaff, Alex Neil? Langstaff, sorry, mate, you're not in my plans, basically. Are you worth 2.5? Are you the answer? Is Mihailo the answer? We'll soon see, because Alex Neil will say, actually, I'm going to bring my own striker in. Proven goal scorer. Look at Chris Wood. Anyway, I can go on till the cows come home. Happy New Year, Achtung Millwall. Bobby T, he's been crazy. Dull draw. Are we safe? Mid-table team? Gary Rowett, will he spoil the party? Are we going to beat Oxford? All I know is Bobby T, Achtung Millwall, Millwall till I die. Nick Hart, well done, great show. Alex Neil, 3-year deal. Let's see how far we go. I say the clear out. I say a whole new ball game, a whole fresh start. Joe Bryan, Murray Wallace, goodbye. Happy New Year, Bobby T signing off. Nick Hart, podcast of the year. Bye for now.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.